terrifying traditional Christmas legends. For a long time, Christmas has been a scary holiday disguised as the most wonderful time of the year. Although we love Santa Claus and his predecessors for handing out gifts to good children during the Christmas season, we ignore that it is a reward system with dramatic consequences for a social contract that none of us agreed to. Have you ever wondered what really happens to children who misbehave at Christmas? You know Dasher and Dancer, but do you know the demons that punish bad children at Christmas? For centuries, Christmas has concealed a system of terror designed to control children. Today, we will reveal the 10 scariest characters that no one dares to mention. This man in rags comes into your house while you are sleeping. Revelation of his method of punishment, and some say he keeps visiting homes to this day. Character 1. From the dark forests of Germany, covered in patched rags to hide his true identity, Belsnickel wraps himself in animal skins and carries a menacing whip. In the weeks leading up to Christmas, Belsnickel visits the doors of houses where there are children and threatens those who have misbehaved. If they do not improve their behavior, they will not only run out of gifts, but will receive a beating from Belsnickel himself. And some say that on December evenings, you can still hear the sound of his whip. Character 2. The Elf on the Shelf, based on the book The Elf on the Shelf, a Christmas tradition by Carol Abersold and Chanda Bell, with illustrations by Koe Steinwart. This is the latest trick to keep children well behaved during the winter months, similar to the Yule Lads and Belsnickel, but without the corporal punishment. The story tells that Santa sends his little ones. Santa sends his little spies to every home. They appear in different places every day, watching, observing, reporting, who apparently have not worked hard enough during the year making toys, to all the houses in the world to keep an eye on the children in the last days before Christmas. Every day, the elf appears in a different part of the house to monitor and report to Santa. Despite his antics and fun, the children, the rule is clear. You can't touch him, or he will lose his magical powers. But is it really magic, or something more sinister? On the one hand, this seems like a good idea if you're naughty, because Santa would never know. On the other hand, it's pretty damning circumstantial evidence. Tonight, before sleeping, check your room well. You might not be alone. Character 3. Krampus, whose name means claw, has existed since before Christ. He is the antithesis of Santa Claus, the supreme punisher. But at present, he is more or less the demon that Santa does not want you to meet. The companion and antithesis of Santa Claus. While American children never feared the lack of shiny gifts no matter their behavior, the children of the old world, especially in Germany, knew that something worse than a lump of coal awaited them if they misbehaved. If you did not behave well, you were beaten and tortured before being kidnapped and taken to Krampus's lair, where we can only assume that the beating and torture continued. Today, there are 2 stances on how to handle the story of Krampus. Since the 50s, the Austrians have tried to relegate him, claiming that terrorizing young children with such tales is not healthy. While in the Germanic city of Schlanders, young people are encouraged to dress up as Krampus and terrorize small children before having a schnapps with the heads of the house. Don't expect coal if you misbehave. Krampus will drag you to his lair for eternal tortures, and in some cities of Austria, they still celebrate it. The Santa's helper that generated worldwide protests. Character 4. Zwarte Piet, Black Peter, known to the natives in the Netherlands and Belgium. Zwarte Piet accompanies Sinterklaas every year, a tradition that hides a controversial story. After all, he gives sweets and gifts to good children and is a companion of Sinterklaas, St. Nicholas. The insidiousness of Black Pete lies in the fact that it is a racial stereotype created by the white natives of the Netherlands and Belgium. Although Moderna attempts at being politically correct have claimed that the reason for Peter's black name comes from his occupation as a chimney sweep, his physical appearance says otherwise. Blackface makeup, exaggerated red lips, and thick curly hair. It should also be noted that Pete accompanies Sinterklaas on his journey from Spain, which suggests that he is probably a Moor, like Shakespeare's Othello, as John Schenkeman suggested in St. Nicholas and His Servant, in an attempt to minimize the racist background of the character to foreign tourists. The Dutch have tried to have the person who plays Zwarte Pieten paint his face in various colors. This did not sit well among those rooted in tradition, and he has since returned to his blackface roots. Despite attempts at modernization, the figure continues to generate debate, a tradition that confronts society with its own past. Chapter 5. The children of Gryla and Lepaloothie arrive one by one for 13 days, each with their own way of tormenting. The Yule lads appear one by one in the 13 days leading up to Christmas Day, each staying for 2 weeks. So the first lad who arrived on December 12th is the first to leave on Christmas Day. The remaining siblings leave one per day in the same order they arrived until the festivities end on January 6th. While in Moderna versions of the story, they are mostly mischievous creatures who make harmless pranks, like flogging doors and eating the city's yogurt supply. No joke, the original story of the boys was much more sinister. As in the Moderna story, they come down from their abodes in the mountains. In the days leading up to Christmas Day, however, instead of making regular pranks, together with the Christmas cat, they keep an eye on all the children and kidnap those who did not receive new clothes during the season to be devoured. Although they do innocent mischief today, in the old days they used to take children without new clothes to feed his mother, and every night for 13 days, a new one will come. The pastor who punishes children who do not pray. Chapter 6. With his cane and brown tunic, Knecht Ruprecht looks like a simple shepherd until his interrogation begins. No doubt that's why Santa has everything from elves making toys for the good children to demons kidnapping the malicious ones helping him. But what about the kids who weren't particularly good or particularly bad? For them, the Germans give us Knecht Ruprecht, also known as Farmer Rupert. He looks more or less like a shepherd pulled out of your neighborhood manger, wearing a long beard, a brown cape, and a cane. Basically, his strategy is to ask the children if they can pray. If they can, they get a great gingerbread. If they can't, he gives them useless garbage, and if they refuse, he hits them with a bag of ashes. If you can't pray, you will receive garbage. If you refuse, he will beat you with ashes. Do you remember your prayers tonight? The two-faced spirit that decides your fate. Chapter 7. Perchten. Perchten is a dual-gender spirit that appears during the 12 days of Christmas. Perchten walks among us, beautiful and horrible, blessing and curse, that is, from December 25th to January 5. On the one hand, we have the Schoonperchten, beautiful Perchten, and on the other we have the appropriately named Shiok Perkton, Ugly Perkton. The first is a giver of luck and gifts, while the other is an ugly beast that looks a lot like the Krampus and is related to the devil, who is the ugliest of the Shiokperkton. As you might expect, Schoenperkton gives treats to the good people of the world, while Shiokperkton punishes the bad ones. What I think is the scariest thing about this character from Christmas mythology is that if you cross paths with him, you can never be too sure which side you'll find yourself on. On the one hand, you gave to the poor. On the other hand, you could have given more. Schoenperkton brings luck, but Shiokperkton brings terror. And you'll never know which one you'll find. Have you been generous enough this year? The Curse of Being Born on Christmas. Character 8. Werewolves, werewolves. Yes, werewolves. While we typically try to limit werewolves to Halloween, B-movies, and gripping fiction, werewolves have been part of the holiday horror party since the Middle Ages. It's said that being born on Christmas Day is a mockery of Christ, and it comes with a terrible price. In modernity, it has been reduced, reused, and recycled to the statement that simply having the audacity to be born on Christmas Day is sufficient cause to turn a person into a werewolf. The 1961 movie, The Curse of the Werewolves, explains that being born on December 25th is making fun of Jesus Christ, and therefore you should be punished. Yes, that Jesus, bringing Christmas joy by punishing not only those born on Christmas are doomed to transform into beasts, dragging others into his curse. Do you know anyone born on December 25th? The ogre who cooks naughty children. Character 9. Gryla. One of the few non-Germanic characters on this list is Gryla. In Icelandic mythology, Gryla is the mother of the Yule lads and the most feared of them all. Their appetite is satisfied only by spoiled children, because nothing says Merry Christmas like being fed to a ghastly witch. So terrifying was her story that it was banned by law in 1746. But the songs warn of his possible return, as they served no purpose other than to scare young children. This has led to the creation of some songs claiming that she has passed away. However, some of the songs suggest that he could always come back to life if the number of naughty children increases. And they say that there are more and more naughty children. The Killer, who became Santa's helper. Character 10. Le Père Fouettard. Père Fouettard is seen to this day during Christmas in Belgium and France. His name means Father Whip, so you can already guess how he brings Christmas cheer. But that's not the scary part of this story. That's the happy part. As the story goes, Le Père Fouettard began his life as an innkeeper, kidnapper, and murderer, in that order. He was a simple innkeeper until greed turned him into a murderer. 3 rich kids of fatal decision. 3 rich kids who were heading to a religious boarding school are staying at his inn. Recognizing his wealth, Le Père, along with his wife, decides to capture and murder the children by slitting their throats in order to keep their money, because somehow that seemed like a better idea than holding her wealthy parents to ransom. While trying to make a stew with the corpses, St. Nicholas resurrected his victims and turned the killer into the official punisher of bad children. From killer to Santa's helper, redemption or eternal damnation, these are the real legends of Christmas. The next time you hear a noise on Christmas Eve, and remember that Santa is not the only one who makes visits. Tell us in comments which of these characters you found the scariest.